Provided an extra seat for somebody then that and Hector, just turn your bum the other way round and no, over there. Would you have to educate these boys? Adrian, you turn your bum round that way. Who else have I? Trevor. And Brian. And what is he? Jimmy Hamilton. Is Jimmy in? There he's there. Come on. I know it. I appreciate Jimmy. Pull the chair around. You'll feel a wee bit out of place here because. Hey, what? Thank goodness somebody has respect for old age. You're a decent man. That must be another mic there for me. No, I would think you'll be able to speak for the other two guys here in the Armada Destroyers. You have a stand, they're raising money. What do you call the girl, Ellen Wilson?
Ellie Wilson.
Ellie Wilson.
Yeah.
She's down at one of the doors and they're lifting money for a tribute to you guys. It's a bit long coming, but it'll make you guys proud to have something in Dromara Village to commemorate what you guys did back in the 50s and the 60s. No, not quite. No, we'll progress into the 70s. But you'll be pleased to see if it all comes to fruition, Raymond. Something there to mark what you guys achieved in your racing careers. And it's nice to see that the Armada Destroyers are still here. We'll think of the Armoy Armada, and there's only one of them sadly left, you know, but you guys are still here, and you'll be here hopefully to see it being built.
Well, I hope so. It'd be nice to see something put up and make us think that we're sort of having Thornton there at one time. Not now, like, but at one time.
Aye, well, Brian.
Well, he was, yes. He had a world champion.
He was, twice. That's right.
Yeah.
But sure, you could have been a world champion yourself if you hadn't been so afraid of water. Raymond only washes his face once a week. Isn't that true? Okay, you won, what, I was going to say 10 times more than anybody else in Ireland here. And the only time you went across the water was to what, the Southern 100 and odd time TT once, didn't you? Did you do TT once?
No.
Or you tried it? No?
No.
No? Southern 100? Olden Park.
I got as far as Antrim for the TT once.
Right.
1965 it was, and it was cancelled that year.
Seaman strike? No?
No.
That was 66. Maybe your memory's better, right? We'll settle for 65.
Heckler's going through, that's right.
But that was your only time, as you say, you never got riding?
No.
So you never done the mountain circuit?
Never did, no. I was under actually that time, I was under on the 250 Greaves. But I don't know how I was ever going to do a TT on it. Although I won nearly every race here on, but the races were about 60 miles. And after every race I had to put a lay shaft and 3 sliding gears for the gearbox. So I reckoned every lap I was going to have to stop and change it.
This was going to be an extended pit stop every lap. You haven't, at least you haven't had Hector putting the petrol in for you, had you? Hey, listen, we'll come to you later, Hector. I can remember. I can remember you riding round Drumcura by. Remember those days?
No.
No?
I was too young then. I was like going there watching you.
Are you? Somebody said Hector knew all the shortcuts through Drumcura for us.
I did, sure.
That was in the Temple Marathon the way back, if anybody remembers that. That's
me starting off 1 and 2 off the line outside the pub in Ballygan.
And I slid off my arse in the frost in the roundabout. I got 50 yards down the road. Right, what What are we're talking about there, Martin? There's Trevor. Who are we going to now? Brian? Aye, well, Brian, he knows the mountain circuit okay. World champion twice, and many TTs do you win, Brian? Five times. And off a few times in the process, too.
Aye, well, if you're not falling off, you're not going hard enough.
Heading to 6th one. I
think one of the times you was it Hanley's Corner?
I fell off at Hanley's at 250, last lap of the 250 race in 91.
You were probably leading it then, were you?
No, it was
close.
There was about a second or two between me, McKellen and Robert.
Three quick men together.
So they didn't finish, they did.
but you were going for the win, obviously.
Oh, aye.
Aye. Yep. Adrian. Hey, Le Mans. Has Adrian Krieger, didn't it? Hey, Le Mans? Yes, he did.
I ran it in the sidecar class in 74.
Aye, yes, it was single 2 weeks, I know you. Yep.
And also once in the solo in 77.
Who were you riding with in the sidecar?
Ronnie Perry.
Ronnie was driving?
Yeah.
And you were a passenger? Ronnie's still knocking about somewhere. You see him an odd time.
He's about 40 stone now or something, but he's still not about
2 stone heavier than you?
Yeah. Thanks very much, George.
I'm trying to insult as many people as possible in a short amount of time here, you know what I mean? Hey, what do we get across this boy here? He doesn't even know you guys here. So, that was that the only TT you did, was Ronnie?
No, I done the TT with Ronnie. We finished 8th actually that year, and then I went and done it on the 77 and the 350 and 750.
Is that the 2 bikes you still have?
Yes.
Sam McLaren ones?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Sam sponsored me in 75, the end of 75, 76 and 77.
That wasn't a bad result, 8th in the sidecar.
It was fantastic.
There's not too many Irish outfits have finished higher. Larry Burton was the one.
That's correct. It was actually, there's no BSA engine we were using, and it was all Yamahas and stuff like that in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an excellent result. A bit hairy sitting in the sidecar, but
I would think it was we're on it. Of course, he wasn't 40 stone then.
no, indeed he wasn't. He was fit then.
Well, listen, you're an Irish champion yourself.
Yeah.
At least twice. Mid 70s.
76 and 77, the road race and short circuit championships, and I won the embassy in 77 as well.
I mean, you 2 Irish road race titles.
2 Irish road race titles and 2 Irish short circuit titles.
And the embassy.
And the embassy.
That wasn't bad.
Well, it's meagre compared to the like of these boys here.
Brian, how many Irish? Do you know how many Irish titles you won?
Never clue.
You won. You only count the big ones, the 5 TTs. The Northwest was your bogey circuit.
It was. I only won it once.
Just once.
Once.
What was the problem? Was
I
it?
just never seemed to have any luck at it. And, I was leading a 250 race coming out of the last corner, and it jumped out of 4th gear, and Gary Conn just beat me to the line. That was, one of the things that happened. And
Who did? Gary Conn?
Gary Conn, yeah.
Gary was good around the Northwest, but he was good on the brakes, wasn't he?
He was, but he went straight through the chicane that year, and I thought he'd be docked time for that, but it wasn't. So.
Wrong time.
I was wrong.
Trevor, throw the microphone here. I haven't been talking to Trevor yet. Trevor, you did all the Irish races. Don't think did you win an Irish championship?
No, but funny you're talking to TT, you see Stephen there.
Yeah, I was talking to Stephen earlier. Stephen Cole. Good to see Stephen here.
We all went the first year, 76, and it was Stephen and Joey and myself, and must have been 6 or 7 of us had never been to the TT, and Stephen was one on the same here.
Stephen, I just want to ask you a question. Just sit where you are. Were you you must have been one of the first Irishmen to race a Ducati? Am I right? Didn't you race a big Ducati at the Mid-Antrim or somewhere? I can't remember. But you must have been one of the first Irishmen to race one of those big things. The V-twin, obviously, as Ducatis all are. No, funny how what you think about when you're trying to sleep in bed at night and this come into my head, Oh, good to see you, Stephen. Oh, sorry, did I get you away late there, Trevor?
Good to see him.
Right, besides your local racing and the TT, you raked away to, where was it, Italy or France or somewhere? You were doing Grand Prix?
77, and went and done German and Italian, done 2 or 3, and Tom Hurd was there at the time. There were a lot of English fellas used to go, Charlie Williams and Graham Waring, and them boys used to all do Grand Prix then.
That's a name I don't hear about now, Graham Waring.
Graham was killed at Scarberry.
That's right.
So a lot of English fellas used to do, and Wellington and all them boys at that time.
Did you enjoy those?
No, it was good.
But
yeah.
Many was one in the grid in those days.
Oh, yeah, I had
MotoGP race, you've what, 16 or maybe less in the grid?
We chat show the other night, and we were just saying there's 100 and, I think I had paperwork in the house, there's 165 350s or something to qualify for 36 places. You wouldn't get that now.
You don't get 350s for starters. Talking about 350s, is Robbie Richardson in here now?
He's in the hall somewhere.
He's in the hall. He's trying to get started up this Forgotten Era, which is what those machines are all about.
Yeah.
You're not going out yourself and taking up the Forgotten Era races?
No, Brian Mead going to do it.
Is Brian going to? No, Robbie's very enthusiastic about this. It's a new class starting up. I don't think it's for the roads, short circuits only, is it?
Circuits only.
But it'll be good to see some of these Forgotten Era bikes back out again on a circuit, being raced again.
We were talking, maybe do a couple of parades, like Spa or something. I think the parades are good over there, so Brian was talking, he did Austin there last year.
I saw like what we were watching on the screen here 5 minutes ago.
Brian went to Austin, he said it was really good.
I was looking at the crowd over there. That was
so
fantastic crowd.
Colin goes to
Yeah.
Jim Lilly and them boys.
What has Colin got? The EM?
He rides Jillian's RG, doesn't he?
RG 500.
No, he's a Honda.
So maybe get these boys, maybe ship everybody out, yeah?
And you'll go across the Austin?
Oh, we're talking about.
There's a big meeting.
Plan or Twist Brand or maybe go.
What a Goodwood, there's a meeting, isn't there?
Aye, but that based on invitation, isn't it?
Oh, you have to be on the proper list to get invited there, do you?
Brian went and, boys run that Yamaha team, Freddie Brewer, he takes all the bikes.
Yeah. Jimmy Hamilton, what are you doing here anyway? These boys are talking, you haven't the foggiest idea what they're on about.
Well, George, I came across a bit of a problem. I came here and you asked me to come and do this talk show, and you started saying a crowd of names, and I give my mum a call, and I says, Mum, they're talking about a crowd of boys that I have to go up here with. I says, do you know who any of them are? She says, Jamie, they're before my time.
Listen, you thought I was back on you.
I look after George, that's the way I got him a seat now, and you have to respect your elders.
Yeah, I never even heard of it.
Well, Jimmy, what age are you?
Sunday.
They're not the boys. What age are you? They wouldn't tell you.
They forget.
You're only 20.
Yeah.
You're already a British champion. We were talking about it out in the hall there when you were launching your involvement with the Ballygan Club. That was on the, as I was saying out there, the Standard 600. That was the bike that sort of, I think, gave you the confidence, was it? You were getting results, but never totally consistent up to then. This is the way I've been looking at your career anyway, Jimmy. Once you get on it, was that the Gearlink Kawasaki you rode that year?
Yeah.
You got consistency that year, and that boosted your confidence, and one thing led to another, and you stepped up. Of course, now your career's taking a different path.
Yeah, well, that's definitely it. I always knew I could get results and always believed in myself, but people never ever seen behind the scenes and never seen what was going on, and things weren't. I wasn't happy behind the scenes, and I wasn't happy with how everything was going on. So as soon as I jumped on the Gearlink Kawasaki, and I believed that the bike was good enough to win, and I'd always believed that I was good enough to win. So that was definitely what changed it all around for me. I felt as if I had a break, and I took hold of it with both hands and took it that year, and it was definitely, unbelievable. as I was saying to you before, I sat at home at the first round and I watched it on the TV, you know, and I just thought the whole lot was over, you know. I thought, you know, that was it. I was never ever going to be a motorbike racer, and I thought it was all over. And 2 rounds later, to be standing on top of the podium at Donington Park was just unbelievable. And you know, that's really how it is. I'm sure these boys will tell you, you know, whenever you're happy, you know, the results just come. That's it. You don't, you know, whenever you're in bad form and you're not enjoying your racing, you struggle to get your results and you struggle to go fast. And I wasn't struggling at all because I was happy and I knew that the bike was capable of winning.
What year was that? 2010 or
09?
09. Then 2 years later, okay, you haven't forsaken short circuit racing, but you're going road racing now. You're going to do the TT this year.
Yeah, well,
which is something Raymond McCulloch never did.
Well, I always wanted to do the Northwest. I'm not going to say that I followed road racing all my days, because I didn't. But I've been to the Northwest every year since I was born. And I said to myself, well, I want to go and do the Northwest. And I came in after the first practice session and I was sold. That was me. I fell in love with road racing that day. And the fact of going curb to curb, flat out with a thing in the stocks and the chin in the tank was unbelievable. Up that road that you just drove up to, maybe an hour before, it was just unbelievable.
Now, how long have we met Trevor? He's talking about riding curb to curb here. Would you advise him to ride curb to curb? Well, actually, you went out in the Northwest and you never even went out in a race. Then you went to the Mid-Antrim and you practiced. No, I'm not going out there again either.
I was a scud. I thought they were trying to call me the Rain Man, because every road race I went to, they wouldn't let me race because it was raining.
But do you think they did get out and draw at the Ulster Grand Prix, wasn't it?
Yeah, I got out at the Ulster Grand Prix, and at that stage then I'd done the Northwest, just riding for a man called Coils Wright, and he had given me a bike to do it, and then I got riding for Ryan Farquhar, and I got riding at the Ulster Grand Prix, and I just rode in the Super Twin class, and unbelievable. I loved it. Compared to maybe the Mid-Antrim and stuff, it was a wee bit more gnarly, as I say. And whenever I went to the Ulster Grand Prix, the big fast rights and lefts, it was right up my street, and I loved it. And
you reckon that's, they say they draw so many TTs, so that should stand you in good stead for your debut this year in the Le Mans?
Well,
same type of corner, basically.
I don't think you can predict what you think of that, man. I think it'll come in after the first lap, and I can imagine you'll either love it or you'll hate it. But I've been doing my homework on it, and I'm really excited about going. So if I don't like it, it'll be a very big shame.
Have you been actually around the course? When you say you're doing your homework, you're maybe talking about PlayStation or something like that, are you?
What are you trying to say? Because there was no PlayStations in your day? You've been reading too many newspapers.
No, well, it's in your day you have PlayStation. Maybe it's even gone beyond that now, I don't know.
No, I've been over to the Isle of Man 3 times last year, towards the end of last year, doing a bit of learning. I've got a few onboard DVDs that are nearly worn out now. I've been watching them every single night before I go to bed, and learn it that way. And I do play a bit of the PlayStation. Actually, it's unbelievable. After watching the onboard laps, I would try and watch them all week, and then maybe once a week play the PlayStation, and it sort of gets it into my head, and I can challenge myself then, and to make sure that I definitely have learnt it.
Hector, well, I have to come to Hector, for he hasn't spoken a word tonight yet. Maybe after what I said, he's not going to either. Hector, you've a nice RG sitting out there.
Yes.
Tell us a wee bit of the history of that. That's a Mark II. That's one of the first RG.
That bike was bought in 1977 by Billy Guthrie, and he took it across to the Isle of Man TT. And the first morning of practice, it broke a rod. It was like some had faulty rods in them.
Was that the first Suzuki to come across this side of the RC?
That was the first one. Yeah, the first 500 Mark II. So the bike was sitting broke, and Phil Reid came along and said to Billy, "Could I hire that bike off you?" So Guthrie knew he wasn't going to be racing because he had no engine, so he hired the chassis to Phil Reid, and Phil got a loan of an engine off Suzuki. And that's why the seat tank you'll see on it for fuel, he put that in case it would run out after the 2 laps, and bought the 77 senior with it. So when it was over, the bike came back to Billy, and I bought it then for Ivor Greenwood with a new engine. And that's the same bike. It's been going ever since.
So Billy raced up when Ivor's been on it?
Billy only raced it 2 or 3 laps ahead of Man, and then was sold to me. And Ivor was out first of all on the Dundrod 150, which he won. He beat Tom Herner in it that day. We used to think Tom gave us the race, but he didn't. But that was the first win with Ivor on it. He rode it for a while, and then Stephen Cull was on it. Speedy rode it for a while. Raymond was good on it there now. Weren't you, Raymond?
Every day.
He was a worse rider for a day. But no, that's the same bike. It's about 50 years. I think it's 57 checkered flags, that bike, in his career.
Right. With
all different riders on it, short circuits. Joey won the Southern 100. Joey won his first Ulster Grand Prix on it.
Actually, is that the one Raymond got the sack, his first contract?
Raymond was riding it for me at Kirkuson, and unfortunately, round Datter, she was no more. She was up the track on her side, so I had to let him go. Couldn't keep him on.
You can't afford to hang on to riders like that.
Of course, his great pal Cubert, nothing to do with Raymond. Now done back to heroin, he says. That's probably what it was.
And many races Ivor went on it? Just the one?
Ivor won the Dundrod 150. I don't think he won much more. He's out there. Ivor, many races do you win that night?
I know he's out there. Where's Ivor Greenwood? Because you never get the true story of any of these here. No. You've only hacked on his own.
We'll tell you the truth, Charlie.
Is he there? No.
No. He's gone.
Anyway, was that your first bike that you bought?
No, we had 250 and 350 Yamahas.
I see this. I don't remember that far back either. But.
You see, Johnny, well, I remember back as I had scrap cars all over Belfast to take the money to buy them. I got a 250 first, and then we bought a 350 and Ivor. Greenwood rode them.
Yamahas?
For quite a bit, yeah. Indeed, and that was it.
What about Norman Dunn?
They were actually bought for Ivor Greenwood. And Donny, there's a one. No, Donny rode them quite a bit, like the Isle of Man. We done the Isle of Man with them and stuff from Norman. And then Ivor moved down to them, and then we sold them and bought the RG, and that was us starting to move up in the ranks. Like, when you thought then you were, this is like a works team.
And you've been claiming ever since.
I've been lucky enough ever since that.
Raymond McCulloch only only raced 250s and 350s. He didn't, but he raced the 500, the QUB, and the 700 or 750. And then you had a selection of 250s, hadn't you, Raymond? For by the Yamaha and Yamahas.
Had a lot of 250s that raced different models and things like that.
Harley Davidson
too, just one season and that. And
you had something else, what was it?
Bridgestone,
yes. But you always went back to Yamaha car.
Yamaha, you couldn't beat them. 250s and 350s.
But then you should have known that.
Easy kept going and nothing complicated about it. Just 2 cylinders and they're good.
Should Harley had only 2 cylinders.
But you could only keep it going one.
So that's why you packed that one in. Too expensive to run. But you spent half of your life working on Yamahas, didn't you? Queen's University.
Well, I've done a bit of work at them, but it wouldn't have been half my life now. One day or two now and then.
And the big QUB, the big 500 single cylinder bike?
It was a bike, every bit was made in the university, and I rode it. And
every bit of it?
Every bit of the bike. No, the CD, the frame wasn't. Colin CD made the frame, but everything else was made.
What about the year you get Phil
Round up to 1971. Tell us that yarn there, but came up onto the podium, I think it was, with Phil after.
No, it was after the practice. Phil Reid come to me, I think I was a quickness in the practice or something like that, or he heard about it. And he come to me, he says, no, we're racing, he says, young man, we're racing for a world championship here, he says. I hope you're not coming in to upset things here. If you're as good as you think you are, why do you not do the rest of the races? No, give him a lot of bother like this. So when the race started, we got going on, and it was a wet day, and well, I never thought it'd be anywhere near them. Boys were all world champions and things, but going on, and Jarno Sharon was leading the race for a bit, so I got in front of him. I got in the lead, and Reid was with me. But he did pass me a lot of times, and then I had to pass him again, and up to the lap before he stopped. I was leading him right enough, but he was still there, and something happened to his bike, and they had to stop or slow down or something. That was the story of that.
Brian Reid, Brian, you won 2 Formula 2 World Championships. Did you go out to win those championships those 2 years? You know, was that your aim at the beginning of the season, or did it just sort of happen that way, and you got the results when it mattered?
No, we got the first bike in '84, and we didn't. It stopped on me on the TT, and then I was leading the race at the Ulster Grand Prix, and just stopped there as well. But I went to the race in Czechoslovakia and won it. So that sort of gave us a taster for it, and we built a bike the following year in '85. Then ourselves with had a spontan frame, got the engines built, and we were intending, because I'd finished third in '84 in the World Championship. So '85 we were going on for the wins, you know, up against Ducati.
Tony Rudder. On the, what is it, 550?
He was the world champion, you know, in '84. So when we got the bike in '85, we were determined to do well in it anyway. So and '86, but when we won the Ducati, they had a protest in when I was leading the race at the TT. They protested against us, but it wasn't upheld. So we were always waiting on them, you know, when we won a race, that they were going to protest. So when I won the World Championship that day, they protested against the first 5 bikes, which were all Yamahas. And it was because the crankcases were machined in a certain place, and they said this wasn't legal, but ours wasn't machined. So everybody that they came to, they asked, you know, was your crankcases machined? And everybody answered yes. So there was no point in even stripping them. They knew that was already done. But ours, we said no, it's not machined. So then they had to pull it apart to check it. But that was the story of that.
That's on them then.
Well, if they could have got us disqualified, Ducati would have still been champions. So that's why they were pushing for it. So, but ours was only Yamaha that didn't have this machining done on it.
You've a wee bike here this weekend, Brian?
It's just sitting in the hall there, yeah.
Is that the one?
That's the actual bike, yeah.
That wasn't machined?
Well, no, the crankcases aren't machined.
Right, aye. So there you are. I haven't had a chance to look around the motorbikes in this hall yet.
No, so after that race, as I say, they put the protest in, and I was already out on the 250, and Mick Mooney, he was involved in stripping it, you know, whenever they decided to pull it apart. So, and then I went through the edge and broke my leg, and Mick, he was near in tears then, because he was worried about, you know, about me, plus, you know, and there they were pulling the bike apart, so he was none too happy.
You should have been celebrating that night instead of in the Royal. Not the way you wanted to end the season there, but well, probably the World Championship was sort of eased the pain a wee bit, I would assume, did it?
No, it wasn't great news. Now, when you woke up the next morning and they told you were going to be in hospital for 13 weeks, it wasn't much of a celebration.
No, it wouldn't be. Adrian, you still have, though, you were talking about the 350 and the 750 Yamaha, the McClellan bike, you still have those?
I do.
I see you had no time in the parade laps.
I give them around an odd time there, yeah.
Hey, we were talking to Jimmy earlier on. What about David? Your old son?
As you know,
he had a big get off at the Sunflower last year. I mean,
over a year
ago.
Yeah. He actually broke his back and he got 2 steel rods in his back. So John Burrows actually offered him a bike to ride this year, but he's declined it at the moment, and I'm sort of hoping that he continues that way.
Right.
But
and is he anxious to get back out again?
Well, I think if you say that to any motorcycles, I think everybody wants back out again.
Short circuits, or maybe the road the Northwest one?
I think if he did the Northwest, I think if he was coming back this year, or sorry, next year, he probably would be coming back to the roads, and that's why I hope he's going to decline it, you know. He says to me, Dad, you did them, but I said, I know you can get hurt at them, but
He still says, I don't want you to be as big and needed as I was.
exactly. One thing I would say, George, when we're all here tonight, I feel, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel the racing in the 70s, there's far, far bigger kick out of it than what there is today. And I say, you know, I have programs in the house, and as you know yourself, George, even the Temple 100, there was 70 350s in the line at the Temple 100, and 10 of those 350s could have won a race, you know, and you don't seem to have the same amount of riders that can win a race out there today. And I think it's probably down to, maybe I'm wrong in saying you don't seem to have the amount of riders that can win a race. You probably do have, but they probably haven't got the money or the sponsorship to be able to do that. And it's such a shame, because years ago you could have bought a 350 TZ Yamaha, and if you could have rode it, you'd have been in the first 10, somewhere thereabouts. But nowadays that's not possible for a lad to do, to buy a bike and you know, Hector will probably tell you there, but probably to be in a BSB, you're probably talking about somewhere in the region of 100,000 for a superbike to be competitive. And like, the lads just can't afford that any longer.
But in a way, theoretically, Adrian, it should be much the same, because you said there that, you know, any 10 riders could have won say a 350 race. They were all on 350 Yamahas.
Yeah.
But is it not the same nowadays, say in the Super Sport 600? They're all on Super Sport 600s.
Not really, George, because
there's more money involved. Obviously,
there's more money involved, but the amount of tuning and the amount of electronics and all that you can put into bikes nowadays, whereas everybody, if you bought a 350 TZ, they were in FEMSA ignition or high touch ignition. There was none of these trick ignitions. Well, with the exception of maybe Ray McCulloch and a few boys had a few fancy bikes. But like Raymond was just, him and I were laughing the other day. He actually used to do an ignition system, and I think the wee probe he put into it cost about 50p to do it. Or 10p, sorry. Whereas today the ignition systems are thousands upon thousands of pounds, and so hence that's probably the reason why you don't have the amount of riders up at the front that you used to have.
You're talking there about ignition systems and all the rest. I'm wondering if Hector was back with us again here.
Hector?
I'm wondering what Hector thinks of the new setup for, well, BSB, but with far less electronics now, that Adrian was sort of touching on.
Yeah,
Are you for it?
I'm absolutely for it, George. I think it was just getting out of hand. More and more gadgets coming out. The bike was near taking itself round. You couldn't broadside it. It cut itself out. It wouldn't wheelie. So that was a big advantage now to help the guys on the bikes. But the way it's brought back now, everybody's going to have to work with the right hand, which they done years ago. And I was talking to young Seeley there at the press launch on Monday. He's really looking forward to it, because he's never rode with the electronics. So he said it should be a fella in his cap for people to go out and work with the throttle.
Yeah, but this is a point that's getting me all through the winter, Hector. Everybody that you read, well, I'm only, you know the guys personally, but I'm maybe reading about the motorcycle news. These rules are going to suit me this year. I'm going to be up in the top 6, or I'm going to be up with the leading guys. There's only 6 places for the top 6. You know what I mean?
Got it in one journey, only 6 places. But it'll take a bit of getting used to, because those big Ducatis were all kitted up with this stuff that the rudder was riding. They're all gone now, so, you know, it's going to be down to the guy with the throttle on it, and it's going to be, as the case on it, I'll tell you, there's 6 or 7 can still win it, but it's going to take a few races for them, everybody to get, or a bit of practicing, and for they all get used to it without, you haven't got all those gadgets on it.
And probably
that man throwing about 20 grams of stuff out the window.
Well, that was one of the things I was going to ask you. Oh. Will that save you 20 grand on a setup?
Save us 20 grand.
Each bike?
Who's going to buy the old stuff? It's all lying there.
Yeah, it's obsolete now.
It's obsolete, right? Yeah.
So all your guys are they all of the same? Josh Brooks, Alistair, who else have you signed up with? Well, the Guy Martin and the Rhodes and
Connor
Collins.
And a motocross team. Somebody called Sword.
Stephen Sword.
You know more about it than me.
I'd have to get Philip in there.
You'd have to get him in there.
Or who's your team manager there? It's Adam Lambs.
Adam Lambs runs the team, that's right. It seems to just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Like, I don't know how we're going to survive the season if Brooksy does a couple of special touches.
Oh, I know.
He's done last year. He could wipe his clean out before he can get started.
So you're going home and praying every night?
You have to play a wee bit, Jordan. You get the practice over anyway. I will see what happens. The team's good and strong. The bikes have been built at the minute. There's one or two done, and we're building another 3, I think. And we've got a good package for them to start out with, so we're hoping things will be good for us. They have to be. The new sponsor now, they're sort of looking for the bikes to be sort of
well, Alistair's already been the top rookie 2 years ago in the BSB. He finished in 6th place. George Brooks, if he stays on, well, they're both, I was going to say George is capable of winning the title. They're both capable of winning it.
It just took quite a bit of work with Joyce at the start, because the bike didn't suit him after riding the Honda, and it took him ages for to get onto it, to get a feeling for it. He didn't like the front end of it, we swapping and changing stuff. But near the end of the season there, we got it fairly dialed in to suit him, and he did ride some good races on it. So I know now that the fella can ride a motorbike, so hopefully he's going out in the package this year without the electronics, but the chassis setup, we had it nearly right from at the end of the season, so let's hope he's up there with the front runners. But see, he's got his head down, he's going for it.
The main point I sort of brought out of your speech there, 20 grand you're going to save in each bank, Brian. That's a fair bit of money.
That's a big saving, there's no doubt about it. But this stuff was getting out of hand and buying. There's more and more people making something better again. Where does it stop, Jordan? I never wanted where to go, but you had to have it for people to run with these guys. You didn't have it, you weren't in the race. Right. But now it's all gone. Let's see what happens when everybody's down to the same setup. Jimmy,
electronics for road racing more than...
I'd be standing outside Hector's workshop lifting them when he goes out the window.
Catching everything that drops out.
I'd be hiding in there, definitely somewhere.
You'll never get a foot on through the door yet. You know, always keep in with Hector. Never burn your bridges there. Electronics doesn't come into the road racing so much, does it? Your 650 sitting out there, well, okay, as I described it, that's your, in inverted commas, fun machine this year. But is there any sort of electronics on it at all?
No, I don't really think so. I think at the most you would maybe have data logging, you know, that you can read your suspension off the laptop and that sort of thing. I think whenever it comes to traction control, you just need a few more Chineses and stuff to try and keep a bit of weight in the back wheel. But
well, you may need that in the big super stuff that you're riding this year.
I'd maybe be glad of another 40 stone or something, whatever. Try and hold it back a wee bit, stop it from scaring me. Hold the front wheel down.
It could be scary, but as I was saying, they'd say two vastly different bikes, man.
Yeah,
big difference in power, big difference in how they're set up, handling, and everything else.
Oh, 100%. You know, the big bike's double the horsepower the Super Twin is, and you know, whenever you're going down the straight, that extra 20 or 30 mile an hour just makes a big difference, you know. And until you try and get your head around that 20 or 30 mile an hour, you know, it's unbelievable. And especially whenever I noticed I went to a road race, you know, the lampposts pass you very quickly. You know, they come at you very quick, you know, on both sides, and the hedges, and you don't get a chance, like. So definitely that big bike will be a whole lot harder to handle than the wee bike, but I'm looking forward to it. You know, I rode a big bike all this year, and it'll be alright.
Well, I don't know, Trevor, just what advice should you give this guy here? He's really starting off. This is going to be his first full season in road racing. You know, okay, we're talking about riding curb to curb there a wee while ago, but he's starting off in a totally different sport now, isn't he? From what he's used to in short circuits.
Yes, I think
so he's got to sort of, has he to get his mind set right? Am I raw novice now again? Is that the safest way for Jimmy to do it?
I know when I started racing, you didn't have to do any short circuits. You just stood out and done the road, because I must stood out the temple, I think, or something.
So you're showing your age too?
No, there's no points. You have to get points for mixed prizes or whatever. But I mean, Brand was talking all night about the fastest lap around on Dog was always what you thought was a slow lap, because it was smooth, you know. Mm-hmm. If you're smooth, I suppose the advice you could give them is just try and be smooth. If you not be rough, you know.
Yeah, and the same applies to the TT.
Sometimes they'll draw it there if you're getting round smooth, and sometimes there's a quick lap. If you maybe didn't think it was a quick lap. I think anybody boys would tell you that.
So what you're saying to Jimmy is keep it smooth, even though you think you're not going quick enough. Don't be trying to do curb to curb. Who's the rider that used to say that you had to be tipping the verges at 3 points through every corner? Who was that? Way back in the, I don't know, the 40s probably. You weren't going quick enough through a corner unless you were clipping the verges and 3 points. Can't remember who it was. And, no. Right, we haven't been talking to Brian for a wee while. What time is it? 10 time? It's not closing time yet, sure it's not, Dennis. Just looking along the road there, did any of you boys ever ride 4 strokes? Except maybe a Tiger Cub or something. Raymond rode a Tiger Cub. Because Jimmy's the only one, and I don't think he's ridden a 2-stroke, have he? A wee 125 Aprilia, maybe? Yeah. I think you boys ride 4-stroke. Brian Reid rode a 4-stroke, yes, of course he did.
Regal Championship.
Yeah.
The 750 Yamaha, 400 Yamaha, 4-strokes.
It's fair to say, Brian, you surprised a lot of people a way back. That was, what, 1989?
89, yeah.
Because everybody said, Brian Reid can only ride 2 strokes. Brian Reid went out and, what was the 7-Up?
Oh, no, Budweiser.
The Budweiser one?
No, well, there was a lot of people who had been doing production type racing, and they thought, they were going to be winning that class, I think.
Right.
But,
well, basically, was that your first 4-stroke? Except maybe away in your early days?
No, that was the first 4-stroke I'd ever rode. So, it was just another motorbike, isn't it? It's just, ride it as hard as it'll go, and it doesn't matter what many strokes it's got. So
you only rode the Yamahas and the AMCs and things because that was the bike that went on in your era?
Yeah, well, you're always looking for the best, aren't you? If there's something better out there, you have to go for it.
Unless you were going to get, was it you said about Tony Rudder on a 550 Ducati or something like that, but other than that, you were going to go 2-stroke really, weren't you?
Yeah, well, in those early days, it was all 2-strokes. I was just saying tonight that the Regal was really the first of the 4-stroke race, and that's what started it all really, and now everything's gone 4-stroke, which is sad really.
Was the late Davy Wood brought that series in? It was a good series too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was brilliant.
No cheating in it at all?
No, I wouldn't say that. I didn't cheat.
Hey, you've told us that 3 or 4 times. Adrian, 4 strokes?
Yes.
Except the sidecar. R6s maybe changed, but it's an R6 which you're well accustomed to.
Yeah, I won the Ulster Championship on the 250 this year, and I've had some really good results in the 600 as well. A bad PT in the 600 wings and problems, and I never got a race in it, so I'm looking to rectify this year. But I have a good stable of bikes. I just need some financial assistance to get them done.
Just when you mentioned the TT, you had a really crap TT this year, hadn't you? I was saying to Jimmy Hamilton, who was here yesterday, he's away today. Jimmy's going to have his first go with the TT this year. I said to Jimmy, David Morgan could show you the way around the TT. Well, at least as far as Ballacrane. Because I think in practice, maybe Ballacrane was about as far as he got during practice and any of the bikes. I said to Jimmy, listen, he knows all the back roads back to the paddock again. But last year was a year you really want to bring out the Le Mans, isn't it?
They tell me the Le Mans can be like that, and hopefully I've had all my bad luck in one season, so I'm looking forward to getting back. It's a place to enjoy riding around, so I'm hoping that this year turns out good for me.
I'm just thinking, what's your best result at the Le Mans TT and any of the bikes? You were in the top 10 one year, weren't you?
I've had a 7th and a 9th in the senior, and a 9th in the Superbike race as well. And they're the outstanding ones. I've had the numerous 10th to 15th, but the 7th and the 9th will stand out.
Right, 7th and 9th, the senior and the super, that's on the same bike. So is the superbike the big Suzuki? Trevor Matthewson's big X-Class Suzuki. But is that your favourite bike then? The bike you've had the best results on? Well, the TT.
I have no favourite bike, I enjoy riding them all the same. It used to be at a favourite the 250 whenever the other bikes weren't just as competitive, but I have a good stable of bikes. They're all fairly competitive. I have no favourites now. I just like mixing it. As long as I'm mixing it, I enjoy riding.
Complete the stable of bikes for us then, because the 250, the 600 Yamaha, what else have you for this year?
I'm remaining with the Superbike, Suzuki and a BMW Superstock bike. And I've got, just released last night, I've got a new Super Twin Kawasaki coming as well from Tony Morris now, so I'm really looking forward to getting in amongst them in that class.
The Super Twin Class 650s, that's the class that Ryan Parker has pioneered almost, you could say, and each year that class is growing completely different to the 252 strokes, which are quite, honestly, and you have to admit that they're on their way out, really, over a period of years now. But are you looking forward to the 650? Because that's an unknown quantity to Davy Morgan, isn't it? First time on a bike of that size and that design.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to riding it. It's a motorbike, George. It's got gears, brakes, and an accelerator. Gonna be.
And the wheels are, the tires are black and round, as Sky Martin would say.
Sort of. It's just going to be as competitive a class as anything else. The top riders are all riding them. Why not give it a try myself? I'll get in among them and see how we get on.
So that's, okay, the 650 Super Twin, you have the 600 Yamaha, the 250, which you probably have to forego a ride on, possibly. I don't know many races this year there's going to be a 250 class for.
Yeah, for sure. The 250s and the 650s occasionally go together, so I'll just have to review which one I'm going to ride at. On the morning that I come to, I'll probably take them with me, and whatever side I get up, I'll just decide on which one or the other.
I was going to say, do you not get up out of the same bed every day, but no. Do you get up out of the same side of the bed every day?
No, it depends on what side truly kicks me out.
Right, you one bike I don't think you mentioned it, the Superstock bike, which you only acquired last year, that came from the conference. The big BMW, going to be out that well in the internationals? Yes, no?
Yes, I'm just going to ride it at the internationals. I will sell it if anybody wants to buy it, because that's how short the funds are to go racing, but if I can't sell it and I won't give it away, I'll use it for the international events.
You still have a full stable of bikes, as I say, over the weekend, the 600, the 650 Super Twin, the big Suzuki. That's enough. You've always had the odd outing on a 350 Classic from Honda, which you ride occasionally, well, not occasionally, every year, I think, the past 2 or 3 years at the Max Grand Prix. So, Classics this year?
Yes, Steve from CSC is very keen on the Classic scene, and the 350 and the 500 are still very much in his intentions, and the 750 push Classic bike that we're running 4th place for the gearbox with the Manx is very much in his plans for the Manx. And by the scheme of things too, he looks like he wants to run the occasional Classic race in Ireland here too.
You're going to be really busy at the national races anyway, yes, there's no doubt about that. And all of the races, you normally don't do, as I call them, the flyaway Irish races in Cork. So I think there's 2 down in Cork scheduled this year, the one at Limerick. You normally don't do those, but you're right in saying you'll miss those probably this year, maybe because of finance more than anything else, but the rest of them, yes, you're going.
Yeah, I would say so. I don't travel well, George, so I'll probably go far away.
You don't like to outside the 30 mile an hour speed limit at Sinfield, do you?
I absolutely do. I don't mind. I've never done a pay, and the Cork one has always fallen at the same time as the Manx, so it never really appealed to me, but I think due to the financial restrictions and circumstances, that's going to affect most of the riders this year. I think there's going to be a lot of half-empty rides, and some races may even fall by the wayside before you get going.
And of course, okay, you're talking about the Manx and the TT. Don't forget, there's a Southern 100, which you normally do. There's 2 races actually on the Milan circuit. the travelling doctors at the NCI Ulster Centre Medical Fund. We're hoping to speak this weekend to some of the travelling doctors who can be very, very entertaining. Unfortunately, we're not in the country this weekend, so it would have been entertaining to happen here for the chat, but not this time around.
Actually won a TT race and got a world championship. And I think Mike was kicking around at the time, feeling a bit frustrated like I'd been doing the year before. He decided, well, if Phil Lee can do it, I can do it. And I was quite delighted that he'd come back. So I felt that Mike was one of the greatest riders of all time. I looked up to him immensely, and obviously followed him, but was always trying to beat him. But it's a very hard thing to do. So he came back to TT and was actually putting into very, very